Hello, and welcome back to Wilson versus Wilson. I'm Jess Wilson, and this is...
I'm Peter Wilson.
And today we're going to be talking about Senate races. We have a couple picked out. I think we're talking Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Kentucky this week.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a particular one you want to start out with?
Well, we can start out with Kentucky because it's short. There's not much. I mean, honestly, the other two are swing state races, and they're close. Kentucky's not particularly close. There's like one poll, and it has Rand Paul out by like 17.
16 points.
Yeah, a lot of points.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a fan of Rand Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty abrasive. He's also pretty libertarian, and that's part of why people hate him, because he'll just be like, no, don't give them money. And people are like, but it's a good thing. And it's like, it's more of a principle thing than that he dislikes the thing. Big fan of the federal government not giving things money. Also big fan of them not taking money, though. He could definitely be more reasonable and like, let's not just not tax businesses. Let's be reasonable how we do things like that. But I like him. I'm voting for him. You're from Ohio. You can't vote in this election.
Yeah, I can't vote, but I can give my opinion, and that is that I really don't like Rand Paul.
Crazy.
Not a fan. I went and looked at his issue statements. Again, I'm not from here, so can't vote in this election. I'm more tuned into Ohio politics for like voting reasons, but yeah, I went and looked up his issue statements. Really don't agree with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Really don't appreciate some of the things that he is trying to legislate for. So, wish we could have Charles Booker. We're not going to.
Now, why do you wish we could have Charles Booker? Because
honestly,
it's worth going into.
I looked at his policies. He has a lot of policies he has a lot of issue statements that I'm for. One of the things that he's really for is big labor unions. He's a fan of those. Protecting local farm families, making sure that they can continue to grow. And also one of the other ones was something he said on his site in his issue statements, actually. He had stand up for Kentucky coal miners. And what he meant by that was that people have been lying to coal miners about the viability of coal jobs. The issue is it's a finite resource, and there's just not as much coal work as there used to be. There's not enough to sustain a whole community in most cases. So when he said stand up for coal miners, he meant in a way of like, let's be honest with the coal mining families, let's be honest with those communities, and let's try to help them.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a reasonable point of view. I definitely have some strong disagreements with some of Booker's things that come from, but I everything I've seen about him as a person, I'm like he's not someone who I'd be like, oh man, I hate that I have this guy, which may be the case for some of the other candidates we're going to go over here in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a Rand Paul guy. He's big on things that I'm big on, and he's not always as consistent as he could be. But no politician is I think one thing that is generally true. Politicians just don't necessarily tell the truth all the time.
Yeah, they'd be lying.
Yeah, but I think the coal thing is interesting because you look at Kentucky's coal industry and you say a lot of the coal industry that is still around is out in places like Wyoming, where the coal is less. The coal itself is less high quality, but the seams are way easier to access.
Yeah.
You don't have to tear a mountain off. You're tearing off. It's mostly in parts of Wyoming where if you just take off 10 feet of the coal and then you replant grass, it looks about the same. Wyoming is.
Oh, Wyoming.
I love Wyoming. Don't get me as knocking Wyoming. All our fans of Wyoming, I don't want you mad at me. But there are some parts of Wyoming you can't make look much more bare and desolate. There are some parts that absolutely drop dead.
They just have a lot of grasslands.
They've got a lot of grasslands.
And it's easy.
And some deserty grasslands.
Yeah, and it's easy to, when you have more of like those first successionary species. You know a lot about like plant succession?
In terms of like once what comes back after a.
Sort of, yeah. It's easier to reestablish a grassland than it is to reestablish an entire forest.
Yeah, and in fact, you can't grow back a mountain. I mean, that's part. You
can't grow back a mountain or something. Yeah. So it's.
Resident plant expert.
Yeah, I love my plants. I have 95 in my room now.
And you breaking 100.
Soon. I actually just got a new one a couple days ago. It was a gift.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, a lot of those jobs are moving out there.
yeah, I've talked about it a lot. Honestly, when I see a lot of the coal keeps the lights on, Friends of Coal license plates and stuff like that, it just makes me sad. Because it's not good for the environment to mine in an area where you have to destroy the landscape to get to the coal. And it's not good for the people because it's more dangerous in those scenarios. And also just the industry in the Kentucky, West Virginia area is just not really there anymore. It's dying off. And it just makes me sad because those jobs, you can't have those jobs if you don't have the resource.
Yeah.
And the resource is becoming inaccessible.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the platform of let's pay attention to these people who are being either lied to or forgotten. Let's pay attention to them and help build them up and help them change to a different kind of focus career-wise so that they can find something that isn't, dying off. They can find something for the future that they can do.
I mean, there aren't that many coal industry jobs left anyway. There's not that many current coal miners still working. So that the Eastern Kentucky obviously had struggles with people moving out of Eastern Kentucky for a long time, but that isn't going to get better with coal's not the answer to that, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll also be clear about industry-wide. I think coal mining execs are absolutely awful to their miners.
Yeah.
They're terrible to their miners. And that's another thing of can I fist fight a coal exec? Just a little. It's okay. I'm kidding. But it just, it's not, it upsets me a lot.
Yeah.
Because these are hardworking people who are just trying to make a living and just trying to do what they know has made them a living in the past. And they're being lied to.
Yeah. Well, what's another set of race? Should we go Georgia next or Pennsylvania? Let's go Pennsylvania.
Let's go, Pennsylvania.
Funnier?
It's a little bit. Yeah.
So the two people running in Pennsylvania are John Fetterman, who's currently the Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, and Mehmet Oz, or Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz.
Who is an immigrant and lives in New Jersey, kind of-ish, I think. I'm not lived in New Jersey.
Where he really
Fetterman
lives.
says he lives in New Jersey. That's where I've seen that from. So I don't want to say. We should look into that. But Oz is famous for. I can't say I watched his TV show a lot, but he's kind of a.
I've seen his TV show a lot because my grandma was one of the people that he pulled in.
Aw.
And so she's always talking about all this crazy stuff, and she's like, "Well, I saw it on Dr. Oz," and I have to sit her down and be like, "Grandma, you cannot." No. And I will say she's a little off her rocker already. I think I've told you about my grandma who believes she was abducted by aliens. My grandma thinks she was abducted by aliens at one point in time. This is the same lady. So she's one of those people that it's very easy to convince her of things. And it's very easy to convince her of dangerous things.
Yeah.
So she'd watch his show and get all these ideas.
It's a lot of quack medical stuff, right?
It's a lot of, some of it is actively harmful, some of the stuff he says, but some of it other is just complete snake oil. It's not going to do anything for you at all. Unhelpful. And he makes me mad. That man makes me angry.
Yeah. So, from his Wikipedia page, in terms of his residency, Oz's opponents have accused him of carpetbagging as he did not live in Pennsylvania prior to 2020. Oz has denied these, noting he owns a home within the state. Probably owns one out of the state, too. He lives in Pennsylvania, he votes in Pennsylvania, and has his medical license in Pennsylvania. He grew up in the greater Philadelphia region. This is quoting from their campaign. Less than 5 miles from the PA border. So I'm assuming outside of Pennsylvania. In Jersey, I would guess.
Okay.
So he's not, ridiculously far from Pennsylvania. But that's also...
Still
so he currently lives there, I guess?
Yeah. That's a little confusing.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. I will say, I don't know...
Wait, what?
What'd you
There's
find?
a Business Insider article. Sorry.
Okay.
The headline is Dr. Oz, who's now running for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, used his in-laws' address to register to vote in the state last year.
What?
He lives in New Jersey, apparently. He's lived there for
Okay.
several years. Oz lived in New Jersey for several years, but last year he registered to vote in Pennsylvania, Montgomery County, using his in-laws' address in Bryn Athen to do so. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported.
So does he live in Pennsylvania at all?
Enough to vote? No, enough to you have to have at least a residence.
Yeah. But it says he used his in-laws' residence.
Maybe they gave it over to him so he could run. Anyway, this is a good example of why I'm unsure of why the Republicans in the primary were like, this guy. Well, I know why. It's because he's a big fan of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And when you push conforming to one particular person as your political platform, it kind of, especially when that person is as
Yeah.
unpredictable,
Mhm.
but like in a predictable way as Trump is, you run some risks.
Yeah.
If someone being willing to say, yeah, I'm with the guy that did a lot of stuff, is your test for can they run in our primary or can they win a primary, that's not gonna bode well for you election-wise, and I think it's gonna bite him in Pennsylvania. Fetterman has some small issues. I'm a little worried about his medical state because he did have a stroke, and
Yeah.
he did say that he's still having auditory processing issues and things like that. And I'm like,
Yeah, but I will say that there are a lot of people who have had
Yeah.
strokes and recovered. Like my aunt, when I was a kid, had a stroke. She's fine now.
Yeah.
You would never know. And it did take time for her to get there, but she was
Yeah.
not like incapable of doing anything during that recovery time. So I think, I don't know, I believe him when he says that, like, he's like, yeah, I'm back at it.
Yeah.
I'm here. If he believes that he can run, he's a person. I don't know a ton about him,
yeah,
but just, I'll say on the vibes. I'm going to say, I think he knows what he's doing. I think he is medically well enough to run if he's back to running.
what was it you said on the when you saw his picture first?
Oh, I said he definitely looks like a guy from Philadelphia. I don't know.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Oh,
I was thinking
yeah.
Pittsburgh.
No,
'cause
it is
he looks like
Pittsburgh.
an Iron guy.
Yeah, sorry, I mix up the P's. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
He definitely looks like a guy from Pittsburgh. He looks like one of the guys that I'd see walking down the street when I went to Pittsburgh for my brother's hockey games.
Yeah.
And that's nothing bad. That just is. I respect him. He's cool.
Yeah, and I think that his having like minor medical issues is like one of those things that you would consider more of a problem if the candidate opposite him wasn't a TV doctor.
Yeah, it wasn't a snake oil salesman. That's just...
I'm like...
And I think a large portion of why he got the primary is just the name recognition. They're like, oh, it's Dr. Oz,
Yeah, which is...
A lot of the little old grandmas who watch his show are like, that guy, I know him, I trust him. Which you definitely shouldn't. But
I mean, I'm just saying. Let's change up hypothetically if Judge Judy ran.
okay. See, I don't know if I would vote for Judge Judy either.
I would.
Because you would?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I really don't know much about her personally.
I don't know anything about her politics. I just know how she is on the show, and she's very serious, no nonsense.
She is no
She
nonsense.
is content. I respect her, but I don't know enough about her political platforms to be like, yeah. 100%.
Why is it that the bad TV celebrities keep running?
Yeah.
Like, why can't
Honestly,
I don't know anything about Judge Judy's politics. Like,
I would like to see Judge Judy run.
But she'd imagine that debate, right?
I mean, yeah.
Like, put her up against anybody, and she's like, "Shut up, I'm talking."
How are you gonna debate against Judge Judy? How are you gonna win?
I forget the name of the bailiff that's always there. He gets paid a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
To stand there, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Dream job.
His vibes are so good.
It's kind of off topic, but no, Judge Judy was my grandmother's show.
Yes.
Not only when she got, like, for a while she was kind of a Judge Judy hater, and then she got old enough, and she was like, you know what? Well, she thought it was trash TV, which is, it's definitely not intellectually stimulating, but when she
No, I'll say my grandma's shows were Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, and General Hospital.
Big thing for doctors.
Yeah, I don't know. My grandma I guess grandma had a type. No, it was bad enough. I went to school in 3rd grade, and we had an assignment, and it was like, write what you would do if you ruled the world. And one of my things was I would put General Hospital on every hour of every day. Because I would get home from school, and I'd watch General Hospital with my grandma.
Jess Wilson's Plan for World Peace right there.
No. I should not have been watching that show.
Hear me out. If everybody was watching General Hospital, they wouldn't be fighting.
I mean, yeah, if you really get... I haven't watched it in years, but the plotline is still enthralling. Something crazy happens every 5 seconds.
I mean, it's a hospital, man.
Oh, no.
I know. Hospitals are pretty boring.
No, it's not just the hospital. There's, like, a mob subplot, and there's a couple of kidnappings, and there's, like, relationship drama.
I mean, you're not a good TV show until you have at least one mob subplot.
Yeah.
Take, for example, Game of Thrones. They never had a mob subplot, and everybody hates them.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, there's a exploding limousine at a wedding.
Exactly.
So if everyone's
anyway,
so
the Pennsylvania
enthralled
Senate race.
Yeah. Okay, let me finish. If everyone's so enthralled with General Hospital, who's going to be fighting the wars?
Exactly. No, but I think the Pennsylvania Senate race is a good example of celebrity politics is part of it. When generally speaking, the sad thing about politics and the general issue you have is the people that you want to run the most probably don't want to run. Like the people who most, not always, like there's some people who will, but it's the classic, George Washington dilemma, right? The reason he was so good as a president and got the country off to a decent start was because he didn't want to be president, and he certainly didn't want to be king.
Yeah.
Which was very helpful.
He did not want to be president. He didn't want to do politics. He didn't even like political parties.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. And now, of course, to run for Senate, since it costs like $2 billion, which is another campaign finance.
That's another issue.
That'll have to be another.
Pisses me off.
That'll have to be another podcast when we have more time.
We'll talk about campaign finances next time. Well, we can talk about taxes too.
Campaign finances and taxes.
That'd be good.
Everybody tune in for that one.
Gets surprising.
Taxes and campaign finance.
I promise you, it will get surprisingly heated.
I will flip a table.
Well, maybe not that. No. Maybe not that.
Not that heated. I'll push over a chair.
Yeah. But we do have one more Senate race we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Georgia. Oh, Georgia. There's a lot going on in Georgia right now.
Yeah. Georgia's it's been like I feel like it is the swing state now.
Yeah,
it
it's
is
definitely
the purple state.
One you're watching.
Because
one you're watching for sure.
And I think the problem for Republicans in Georgia is they keep running absolutely crap candidates. Sorry, language. No, but they decided that Herschel Walker was a good move.
Yeah, and we're seeing how that has turned out.
The most recent thing, which was like yesterday.
Yesterday,
I think it was Daily Beast reported
came out
that
that
Herschel Walker had.
Well, we'll clarify first. Herschel Walker has been very outspoken through his campaign so far about his pro-life values and that he opposes abortion in all formats, including in cases of rape and incest.
Yeah. So, and his big thing is like family values, which him as a person doesn't back up very well.
But the Daily Beast reported with the receipts, so to speak, literally, of him having allegedly paid for someone he had an affair with.
Well, he actually wasn't married at the time.
Huh?
He wasn't married at the time, so it was someone he was dating.
Oh, he was someone he was dating to have an abortion, and he had told her, according to this report, that he just wasn't ready for kids, and that was where she was at too, so it wasn't like he pressured her into it or anything, but also he already had kids at that time.
It's not... Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's not necessarily like he did her dirty, it's more just that if he's saying that... He's being a hypocrite is what he's doing. And obviously there's well, maybe not obviously. There's bigger issues with Herschel Walker, or other big issues with Herschel Walker.
There's a lot.
Because his son,
of
Christian Walker,
violence,
who's a conservative social media influencer, was like, I should pull up that tweet.
You should pull up his quote. Essentially, what he's saying is that his father, Herschel Walker, walked out on him and his mom and didn't, like, take care of him or the other sons and daughters, sorry, I should say children, that he had from other relationships, and that he was an absentee father. I think he said he was done with his dad after this latest thing came out of him having allegedly paid for an abortion, because there was, according to Christian, his family had begged Herschel Walker not to run for office because all of the dirty laundry would come out.
So I'll read the 2 tweets.
Yeah.
So it's from Christian Walker. Here's his bio, just so you can get to know him a little bit. It says American flag, free speech radicalist, Jeremiah 29:11, which is, I know the plans I have for you, I think. Business and media, christianwalker@gmail.com. Anyway, that's his Twitter bio. So he is not doing this for political reasons.
No, Christian Walker is, to be clear, a Republican political figure.
Yeah. I know my mom, and I would really appreciate if my father, Herschel Walker, stopped lying and making a mockery of us. You're not a family man when you left us to bang a bunch of women, threatened to kill us, and had us move over 6 times in 6 months running from your violence. I don't care about someone who has had a bad past and takes accountability. But how dare you lie and act as though you're some moral Christian upright man? You've lived a life of destroying other people's lives. How dare you? Anyway, that's not going well for the Herschel Walker campaign.
No. Yeah, and I will say it's just kind of something important to note about this situation, that Christian originally came on and helped his father's campaign.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, he was originally helping with, that's why he said in one of his comments, he said, I'm done with my father, because he's not going to help him campaign anymore. He's like, I wanted this relationship with my father back, but I'm not going to get it, sort of a thing.
Yeah. Certainly not a good look. And again, Herschel Walker primarily won the obviously Herschel Walker, well, this is more, he I think was on Georgia's team last time, until this most recent time, the last time they won the national championship, the Georgia football team. So if you're from Georgia, you know who Herschel Walker is. So it's again the name recognition. And then Trump backed him hardcore. Like, Trump was all for him in the primary.
And he was polling pretty high earlier this year. I think April he was leading by like 5.7 points.
Yeah. And then people probably found out stuff like this, which is just hard to, now to be fair, it's been talked around before. Maybe not quite this directly, but like, it's hard to say, I saw a tweet. Somebody said something along the lines of, I'm against abortion except when it threatens the political life of the father. I was like, that about sums that
That's
one
good.
up.
That's pretty good.
Hypocrisy is hard to excuse, and it unfortunately,
especially on that kind of thing. I think it's pretty clear where I stand on some of the issues that we're discussing here, but to a pro-life political base, if you violate that at all, that's an automatic, like, gone.
There's almost
not gonna happen.
I would be absolutely shocked if Herschel Walker wins this election.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a little shocked if he's still in it in a week.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the polls come out, the next couple rounds of polls. I know this most recent poll, he was polling 2.1 points behind Raphael Warnock, but also that was before all this came out.
Yeah.
So he's already on a bit of a downturn. I think he's gonna drop off because that certain base, their belief is that abortion is murder. So essentially, to that group of people with that belief, what he has done is paid for a murder. That's not what I think of what happened, but that is the belief of the political base, a lot of whom
Obviously,
is supporting him.
From your point of view, he's saying people can't have abortions, and then
I don't like what he's doing because he's being a hypocrite and he's trying to limit access to only when it benefits him.
Yeah.
And he's limiting access in a way that benefits him.
Which is essentially him saying, I'm going to give credit to this point of view. I'm going to say that I value the lives of unborn children.
I'm going to support...
Unless they're threatening me, personally. Unless I'm not ready for kids, which is ridiculous.
Because he already had kids.
Man. Like, I'm not ready for kids again.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with having that conversation with your partner of, She said she wasn't ready for kids at the time. He was like, okay, yeah, I say I'm not ready for kids. Whatever. I don't see anything wrong with him paying for that. I don't see anything wrong with him supporting her and paying for her abortion. What I do see wrong is that he has done a whole 180 on that and decided, I'm going to hide that and I'm going to use this political talking point to benefit myself and to hurt other people.
Yeah. So yeah, not a big fan of Herschel Walker.
No.
Now you, I think, know more about Raphael Warnock than I do.
Yeah, I know a little bit. A lot of his, it's, usual kind of liberal policy issues. I don't know. I didn't look too much into his specific policy issues like I did for Charles Booker. Yeah. I know there's been a little bit of controversy around him from some attack ads that came from Herschel Walker's camp about allegations of domestic violence and child neglect.
Something from Herschel Walker. But,
and I will say that I looked into it. PolitiFact did some fact checking on it, and they found no evidence from court records or police that any of that happened.
It did seem like to me, because I was looking at some of it too. There's a couple things that would be concerning if true. There wasn't much. There wasn't any evidence behind him, and I'm obviously I don't know, but it did seemed like he had a messy divorce, and it just that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, they're not it's another case of, I don't feel like, it's another case where it's if someone else was running against him, those issues would loom larger for me. But when it's someone who,
has all these skeletons.
Those two tweets from Christian Walker are pretty condemning, especially from someone who worked for his campaign.
I will say, there are very few things that Christian Walker and I would ever agree on.
Yeah.
But kudos to him for that. That's a shout out to him. That's a hell yeah for Christian Walker on that one. I'm proud of him for standing up to his father and for doing what he believes in. Good for him.
Yeah, and that's certainly it's another case where it's don't blind allegiance to Trump doesn't make someone a good candidate. In fact, it probably makes him a bad candidate.
Yeah.
I'll put that out.
That's something we can agree on.
Being willing to, because here's the thing. One of the problems in American politics for a long time, before Trump, has been the willingness to support, to have to do this binary, I support this person or I don't. Because take Rand Paul. I don't support everything about him. I don't support everything he says or does. But I think he's decent and I agree with a lot of his policies, right? And he's not, morally, he seems like a decent person. He doesn't have any convictions in his past. He's not his wife's never accused him of anything bad. We've not had anything particularly bad about him as a person come out. But I wouldn't say, oh, I like Rand Paul, so then he comes out and is says something absolutely wild, and I'm like, well, I agree with that now too, and I think that's what Trump definitely has become, but also it's been a problem on both sides, I think, but more pronounced definitely on the right lately. So I think it really is a problem for both sides of saying, if you support this person or if you're in our group, you have to be in our group with everything, and not allowing that lots of people everybody has different opinions, everybody has different beliefs, and they matter to them, and they're going to be different, and you probably will need to respect that more than you think. And also, you shouldn't say, I'm with this person, I agree with everything they say, or I'm with this party, I agree with everything they say.
Kind of towards that point, we've kind of touched on it a bit before in other episodes. I just think that the two-party system breeds dichotomy. I think it breeds this kind of I have to do whatever this party says or whatever this party says, and there's no room for moving around. And honestly, I'd just like some more political parties. Can I have some more bigger political parties, please?
Full moose party. Birthday party.
Birthday party.
Speaking of people you definitely shouldn't be blindly following. So what are your thoughts on Khan? Okay. I think there's something to be said for that. Certainly. What else do we got? We got headlines, don't we?
Yeah, we have vice versa.
Yeah.
Welcome to the segment Vice Versa. This is where we look at a couple of headlines and we both give our quick opinion on them. Peter.
This first one's really not political. I just thought it was totally random.
Okay.
Winner of fishing tournament rocked by cheating scandal. Hopes alleged cheaters get the max penalty.
What?
I'll give you some context.
I'm flabbergasted. What is...
So, there was a fishing tournament.
Okay.
Somewhere down south, I think. And several people were found to be putting lead in their fish to raise the weight, because it's based on weight.
Uh-huh.
And this guy's like, the guy won, so I'm confused why he's that mad, because they cheated and he still won, which is just hilarious. Anyway.
Okay.
This really isn't a political one at all. I was just like, let's mix it up.
Uh-huh.
But they put lead in the fish to make the fish heavier so that they'd win the tournament. And then like a bunch of them got caught for it. How do
you get caught for putting lead in fish? Do they cut them open?
Fell out or something? I don't know.
Fell out.
He just vomited like little things of lead. Yeah. Anyway, I'm anti-fishing and cheating anti-cheating in fishing tournaments. How about you?
I'm gonna say we're gonna ignore the whole cheating portion. I'm anti putting lead in fish. What?
Dead fish.
I don't care if they're alive or dead. Don't put lead in the fish.
Okay.
I think that's kind of a simple thing. That was a roller coaster of a headline, I'll tell you.
Definitely was. Election denier Carrie Lake has a real shot of winning a swing state governorship.
Oh, God.
Are you familiar with Carrie Lake? Or quick reaction?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Carrie Lake, but just the election denying portion. Stay out of office, please. I'm begging you.
Elections aren't real. No.
Peter. You can't scare me like that. No, I just that's what. No, that if you're gonna undermine the validity of elections, just stay out of office. That's my opinion. Stay out of office. Drop out, please.
Okay, White House says Biden's Saudi trip wasn't a waste as he lambasts OPEC's short-sighted decision to cut oil output.
See, oil in the Middle East is a bit of a... It's very complicated.
Explain the Middle East situation.
And I don't think you want me to. It's complicated, and I don't know if I have all the information to really say much about that other than, frankly, I'm more along the lines of we should not try to control other nations' economies like that, essentially. I don't think,
that's
because
what
I think
is pretty much.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I think that there should be a higher level of personal determinism in national determinism in each country's own economy.
Interesting.
And I think there should be systems to regulate that, but also I don't see a reason why the US and other like big wealthy countries should be going into any country and being like, okay, you're going to do this for me for this cost.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Interesting. So you're not a big globalist.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at it, because it's more of a I don't like the position that the US is occupying in global politics. I think that there should be more of an even playing field if we're all going to work together.
Yeah. So you're saying we should put America first?
No, the opposite of that. That is the opposite of what I'm saying.
Maybe internal affairs should be more of a focus for us than external affairs. Would be a more...
I think we should stop trying to get what we want by manipulating other and controlling other countries.
Crazy. Well, as a libertarian...
As a libertarian. Do you agree with me?
To some extent, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the U.S. has done... I don't think everything they've done has been bad, but they've done enough that maybe they should be like...
Yeah, and I'll be clear, I'm not against humanitarian aid and that sort of thing, but there's a certain extent of just controlling other people's economies for personal benefit that I don't like.
Not a big fan. Crazy.
No.
Well,
we had one last thing. We were gonna do
we had
song recommendations. You gonna go first?
you go first.
Okay. As per usual, I will be giving you a leftist recommendation, and that is Casey Jones' Union Scab by Pete Seeger. It's got a great beat. It's about a Union Scab on a train line, which I think is might be relevant here soon, or it was during negotiations, and I just really like the vibes of that song. So, Casey Jones' Union Scab by Pete Seeger.
My song's not exactly American politics. It's by U2. It's Van Diemen's Land.
Okay.
I love it. It's a gorgeous song. It's not by U2. They did a cover of it on their Rattle on Hum album. But it's about a guy getting shipped to Van Diemen's Land, which is south of Australia, Tasmania, I think.
Okay.
For the penal colonies.
Oh.
Yeah, Britain. There's a reason we fought for independence. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's an interesting song because the Edge, who's normally a guitarist, sings.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting song.
Okay, dang. I'll have to give it a listen then.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in. This has been Wilson v. Wilson. I'm Jess Wilson.
I'm Peter Wilson.
And we'll catch you next time. Bye.